Hello subscribers, today's review will be on the new Jurassic World Soundstrike Baryonyx Grim. Out of all the new figures that were being released, the Soundstrikes and the Massive Biters, this one was the one I was most excited for, and thankfully I found it first, alongside the Red Pteranodon. Unfortunately, they didn't have any of the Massive Biters, which hopefully I can find soon since I really like that Albertosaurus. Now we all know the issue of these figures not showing up when you're scanning them at the register, and to no surprise it happened to me. So the employee that helped me, what she had to do is, she couldn't find it on the Target website at all, so she used the Indominus Rex listing and changed the price from $39.99 to $14.99. Now this is the second Baryonyx figure that we're getting for the Camp Cretaceous line. The first one was Baryonyx Chaos that came in that $40 set. But I think that this Soundstrike figure is an improvement. There's also a Baryonyx Limbo figure, I think that's coming out, but we don't know which assortment it's going to be part of or what it looks like. But it's most likely going to be part of a $15 range. So here's the packaging. The same old but amazing Camp Cretaceous box. On the left you got artwork as well as a bunch of titles. And then on the right you've got dinosaur and human characters. And then the top right you got the Netflix logo, which also brought you everyone's favorite Godzilla anime trilogy. Then on the back, you just got the same old card and stickers that we get in these larger Camp Cretaceous figures. And then you got a surprisingly inferior image of the Baryonyx here, which is a pretty rare occasion because usually the actual figure looks worse than the box art. And then on the bottom right, you got the lazily painted Soundstrike Pteranodon and Triceratops. And if you're wondering, I will not be getting them. So let's waste no time and see what Grim has to offer. To be honest, there really hasn't been any good Mattel Baryonyxes since the Fallen Kingdom Roarvor back in 2018, which is still one of my favorite Mattel dinosaurs ever. All the Baryonyx figures in between have just been mostly okay to lazy repaints. Now this offering here, I'd say is a better figure than the Fallen Kingdom Roarvor, for some reasons I'll point out later. First, let's take a look at the detailing. Now, the scalation on here remains the same from the previous Baryonyx sculpts, which is good because I don't really see the need to change it since it was already a well-done sculpt. So you see all the... Just go a quick run through the detailing. See all the scales right there. Looks very nice. And all the muscles. And then see the arms and the feet are exactly the same. And then here's the left side of the toy. Now, the only real difference here is the back. As you can see, the crocodilian-like osteoderms are more visible, more well-defined, which is good, because the crocodilian features was one of the standout characteristics of the Jurassic World Baryonyx design. So let's bring out the Fallen Kingdom Baryonyx here. You can see the osteoderms here are visible, but they're not as visible here. Now, these osteoderms, they don't only remind me of a crocodilian, but they also remind me of those retro Megalosaurus depictions. If you guys know what I'm talking about, some of these old Megalosaurus arts, they had like something like this going down their back. Now, another difference I've noticed in the sculpt is, as you can see, starting from the hips and going down to the shoulders, there seems to be kind of like a hill-like structure going down. Now here it's more straight, which I think looks better. It makes the animal look stronger and more robust. Now another obvious difference is the position of the legs. And I actually like how the legs here are positioned because it helps the toy stand better. See, looking at the front side, it doesn't look like he's going to fall over soon. While this one on the other hand, you can see he's kind of like toppling over a bit. Especially when viewed from the front side. See, by just... it seems like if I just shake my desk, he'll just fall over. I'm still surprised that this thing is still standing even after 2 years. So that's about it for the detailing and similarities with the previous Baryonyx sculpts. Normally, I'm not a fan of these choice of colors on a Jurassic World dinosaur, but for some reason this one works. Maybe it's because of that beige striping, that separates the green and then the brownish gray, I think. Yeah, it's probably what makes this paint job stand out. If it wasn't there, it'd probably be a mediocre paint job like the Baryonyx Chaos figure. Now, per usual with Mattel dinosaurs, the striping doesn't continue to the face nor down the tail. So yeah, laziness on Mattel's part as always. Now, what I like about this is that the green on the top continues at least a little more than halfway down the tail, which is better than it stopping at the base of the tail. Now, one strange thing I noticed about the green is that there's two tones. From the middle of the body to the skull, it's more like a swampy green, and from the hips to the tail, it's more of a generic green. I mean, it looks cool, I guess, but I would have preferred if it was just a swampy green continuing, all the way down the body. Now, another thing I like about this paint job is the pinkish red around the eyes. See, it looks very glossy and nice, and I really like how going out of the red, you see a bit of pink on the outside. Yeah, sorry, I can't really talk today. But I really like how it's faded and there's like a bit of dry brushing. It's better if they were to just slap it on there. See, it's about the same on the other side, and thankfully mine doesn't have misprinted eyes. Most of us be pretty mad if we finally found these new toys in store, only for them to have a bunch of paint defects. Speaking of paint defects, the only ones I can spot out is in the front of the front of the snout right here with the teeth. Now you can see the base of the tooth stops up here on the upper lip, and yeah, of course they didn't paint it. And you see the tip of the tongue right there has the same color as the teeth. And when I first saw this, I thought it was just some weirdly placed tooth, but then I realized it was just the front of the tongue. So yeah, that's about it I have to say about the paint job. It's very nice. When I first saw images of this toy back in February, the color scheme was very familiar, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But then I remembered there was this Giganotosaurus artwork that had a similar green color, and then even the red around the eyes. You can move the legs of this toy, which lock into position. You can also move the ball jointed arms. And unlike the previous Baryonyxes, which had a spring-loaded jaw, this one you can open it manually. And it opens very wide and is very stable as well. So good job to Mattel for adding a articulated jaw on this sculpt. So that makes 5 points for articulation. Well, 6 if you want to count the action feature, which we'll talk about right now. Of course, like all sound strikes, you move the tail around so you can hear those sound effects. And yeah, that's the biggest flaw with this toy, is that it reuses the T-Rex roar from the previous Baryonyx. Come on, Mattel, have you not learned that a T-Rex roar isn't fitting for a Baryonyx? You nailed it with the irritator sound effects. You could have at least used those sound effects for here. Just Mattel being lazy. Oh yeah, I forgot to point out that the material of the arms is more of a softer rubbery material as opposed to the harder plastic of the previous Baryonyx toys, which I prefer because it makes it more durable. Also, the sound hole right here, it's more of the little claw slits rather than the disturbing looking holes that typically accompany these electronic dinosaurs. Let's do the most obvious comparisons first, so here is all the other variants of this sculpt that I have. The Fallen Kingdom Baryonyx is a very solid toy, but this one, it has a cool paint job, but the striping doesn't continue all the way down the tail. This guy right here has the same issues. Fortunately, we're getting a solid Baryonyx toy. The only ones I don't have is the Lava Surge toy and the Baryonyx Chaos, and those two have the same issues as these two. And I'll only pick them up if I see them for a good price. There is 2 fellow Camp Cretaceous Soundstrike dinosaurs, and the Baryonyx Grim is probably the best of these. Now, in terms of paint job, well, continuing the colors all the way down the tail, this Baryonyx is an improvement over these two. But, unfortunately, this Baryonyx recycles the same old and sickening T-Rex roars, while these two have new and suitable roars. Let's bring in more Camp Cretaceous dinos for a comparison. Here is the Attack Pack Dimorphodon repaint, and the Attack Pack Ankylosaurus Bumpy. It seems like most of these retools and repaints for the Camp Cretaceous line are very well done, as evident by Grim and the Dimorphodon here. Speaking of dinos with official names, let's bring in the Control and Conquer Carnotaurus Toro. So I really like how more of these Jurassic dinos are getting official names. Since we're reviewing a Spinosaurus figure, why not bring in all the other Spinosaurs that Mattel has made? So here is Fallen Kingdom Suchomimus, Dino Rivals Spinosaurus, and Primal Attack Irritator. The Spinosaurus is still the best in my opinion, but this Baryonyx is a close second. As always on this channel, the final comparison is with the Collectae Minizephactinus. And Minizephactinus has to be very wary around this giant fish-eating dinosaur. Final thoughts on the new Soundstrike Baryonyx Grim. I think it's a fantastic figure. The minor differences in the sculpt, as well as the paint job, are all very well done. The movable jaw is also a nice touch. If you like the previous Baryonyxes, you'll definitely like this one. Like I said, this one is the best of all of them so far. And you can find this guy at Target for $14.99, and since Target has been stocking a bunch of these new toys, this guy shouldn't be too hard to track down. And I'm hoping that some of the newer shipments won't have any scanning issues. So if I had to rate him, I'd say he probably gets a 9 to 9.5 out of 10. So if you guys enjoyed this review, leave a comment and like and subscribe, and let me know what you think of Grim here.